A lot of people ask me, where is the best place to retire in Thailand? They want me to name a city, a certain beach, or one province and say, that's the place, go there. It doesn't work that way, you guys. I'm 67 years old. My wife and I already have a home, land, and a life in rural Isaan. At the same time, we have spent time in Hua Hin, and we came pretty close to buying or leasing a small condo near the beach. We seriously talked about dividing our time between the farm and the coast. Those are two completely different versions of retirement. One gives you land, family, privacy, and room to build something together. The other gives you confidence, restaurants, hospitals, transportation, and the beach, which is a big plus because I like the beach. The place that feels perfect during a 2-week vacation, though, it may not be the place you want to wake up every ordinary Tuesday for the rest of your life. My name is Rick, and this is your Thailand Retirement Location Reality Check. Before we get into that, if you're seriously considering moving or retiring in Thailand, take a look at the Thailand Reality Guide and the Cost of Living Calculator at ricksadventurestv.com. I put those together to help people look beyond the vacation dream and work through the real cost and decisions before making a great big move. But now, let's talk about where I would actually choose to live. I'm not going to give you a list of the 10 best places to retire in Thailand based on articles I found online or seen on YouTube. I haven't myself lived in 10 different Thai cities, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have. What I can do is tell you about a decision that Tia and I have genuinely wrestled with. We have a new home on about 6 rai of land in Isaan. We have ponds, trees, coconut trees, palm trees, room to work, a pavilion, a small restaurant and bar. We're surrounded by Thai family, friends, villages, temples, farms, and the everyday life of Thailand that most tourists never really see. We're living in Isaan area. I can walk outside in the morning and find something that needs to be done. There's grass to cut, landscaping to improve, or equipment to maintain. Something to build. There's always some other idea that T and I have talked about, doing for the property. Then you have Hua Hin. We go there occasionally and visit friends. Hua Hin gives you a completely different life. You can be very near the beach, walk to the restaurants, get coffee, go to the markets, go have a gym. There's more people to be around, more foreigners. You have easier access to medical care, transportation, shopping, and there's just a lot of things to do. So neither one is automatically better. The real question is, which one fits the person you are and the life you really want to live? Why the beach life pulls me in. There's something about waking up near the ocean that feels like retirement. You get up in the morning, I walk down to the beach, I go exercise, I stop somewhere for some coffee, maybe have breakfast if I'm hungry, and do some people watching. You don't have to plan your whole day around, getting into the truck and driving 30 or 40 minutes just to find something you need. That convenience becomes more important as you get older, trust me. When you're younger, you may not care if you have to drive everywhere. I never did. You may not think twice about climbing stairs, maintaining a big property, or making a long trip to see a doctor. At 67, I still feel good and I stay very active, but I also understand that I may not feel exactly the same at 75 or 80. Living in a place like Hua Hin can make ordinary life easier. You have restaurants, stores, gyms, transportation, hospitals, all the amenities that we become accustomed to in our Western life. You can take a bus or train to other places easy depending on where you live. You may not even need a car every day. I can see you would need nothing more than a scooter probably. That kind of freedom has some real value to it. There's also a social side to it. You're around more foreigners, more travelers, and more people who speak English. I didn't come to Thailand because I wanted to spend every day surrounded by Americans and Europeans, but I understand why it helps to have a few people nearby who share your background. It gives you a little bit more validity and a little bit more feeling of comfort. That may matter even more if you're coming here alone. Rural Thailand can be peaceful, but peace can start feeling a lot like isolation if you have nobody to talk to and nothing to do. The beach is not a permanent vacation, you guys. The problem is that a beach count can look a lot different when you're living there full time instead of just visiting. When you're on vacation, you don't mind eating out every day, and you don't think much about taking, a grab or stopping for drinks, buying coffee, or spending money at the night market. You're there to enjoy yourself. But, when that becomes your ordinary everyday life, the money can start slipping away a little at a time. I mean, it does cost more. Breakfast here, coffee there, lunch out, dinner with friends, maybe a few drinks. None of those things seem expensive by itself, but together they can start adding up and it can snowball, supposedly changing your cheap retirement into a much more expensive lifestyle. Then there's condo living. A small condo can be super easy to maintain, but it's still a small condo. You may have neighbors above you, below you, or both sides. You may hear doors closing, furniture moving, dogs, people coming home late, and you also have building rules, common fees, maintenance issues, and management decisions, that you don't have control over. You give up a lot of that control, when you're in a condo. Now, I'm not against them. We came close to buying one, but I backed out. I still think a condo near the beach could make sense for the right price and the right purpose, but in all actuality, I'd probably just rent one or lease it. I wouldn't buy one because I thought every day was going to feel like a vacation. Eventually, it becomes your home and you have to judge it as a home. So it's really a tough consideration, but, personally, I think it'd be better off to lease than to buy one because they're also pretty hard to sell. Now, let's talk about Isaan. It gives us something the beach can't give us, and that's space. We have land, we have trees, ponds, parking, buildings, and room to change things. I can walk outside and feel like I'm on my own property instead of stepping into a hallway or an elevator at a hotel. And that does matter to me because I'm a country boy from Missouri. I don't want to retire, sit in a chair, and wait for years to pass. I need things to do. I need projects, movement, and a reason to get up in the morning. And this farm gives me that. I enjoy working on the farm. Some days it may be, working on landscaping. Other days it may be maintaining equipment, motorcycles, cars, improving our restaurant bar. There's just many things. Planning to, bring in new things for extra income. It's not a glamorous everyday life, but it does give me purpose. Isaan also gives Tia something that Hua Hin cannot replace. This is her home area. Her family's here. Her friends are here. She knows everyone, and everybody knows her. And that makes a big difference, She doesn't have to build an entirely new life from the ground up. And that's something that foreign husbands need to think about. It can't always be about where the foreign man wants to live. You also need to ask whether your wife or girlfriend will be happy, connected, and useful where you guys choose to be. A place may look perfect to you while you're slowly making your wife miserable. And, that's not right because Thai women, most of them that I've been around, they won't complain. And you don't want them, you don't want your girlfriend or wife to be uncomfortable just so you can be, self-centered and have your happiness. Might sound all right, but it's not the right thing to do. So that's something else you should consider. Okay, guys, I'm not going to sell you some fairy tale about village life either. Living in rural Thailand is not for everybody. When you visit a Thai village for a week, it can feel peaceful and charming. You see rice fields, temples, all these family gatherings, and people sitting outside talking in the evening. You think you found that simple life everybody's been searching for. But living there every day is different. You usually need a vehicle. The nearest large grocery store is not close. You may not have many restaurants to choose from. We have to drive quite a ways, at least 20 minutes to get to a decent restaurant. English isn't spoken very often and minimally. And if you do learn some Thai, you can become dependent on your wife for almost everything. If you don't, you'll be dependent on her. And that may not bother you at first, but after a while, it can start making you feel like a child who has to ask permission or ask for help every time you need something. And I don't like that feeling. Healthcare is another consideration. We have clinics and hospitals available, but if you need specialized care or prefer a larger private hospital, you're going to have to travel. We have to travel at least an hour to Don Tani for that. That's not a major problem while you're healthy and driving, but that can change. It can feel different later. Then there's boredom. People do not like to talk about that because they think it sounds insulting to Thailand, but boredom's real. If your only plan is to sit outside, drink beer, and enjoy how cheap everything is, you may love it for a few months, but believe me, that could get very old. After that, you might start asking yourself, what are you supposed to do all day? I put my time in on messing around with some motorcycles. Rural Thailand works best for people who can create their own purpose. You need hobbies and projects and responsibilities, small business, travel travel plans, or something else that gives you some kind of structure to keep you motivated to have goals. Thailand can give you a beautiful setting for this, but it can't automatically give your life meaning. You have to do that. You can use Thailand as that beautiful background, but give yourself some meaning and you're going to find you enjoy it much more. Okay, the older I get, the more the answer changes in my head. A lot of analysis paralysis. 10 or 15 years ago, I probably would have picked the farm without ever giving it a second thought because I like the country. I like land, I like space, I like privacy, I like having room to work on things. I've never been the kind of person who wanted to spend every day sitting beside a swimming pool and doing zero, nothing. It's just the way I feel. I have to be productive. But at 67, I also think more seriously about what's going to happen later. What happens if I don't want to drive at night anymore? What happens if I need some kind of regular medical treatment? What happens if maintaining 6 rye starts feeling more like a burden than a project? You know, what happens if Tia and I decide we want to travel more and maintain less? Excuse me. This is where places like Hua Hin starts looking more attractive, not only because it has a beach, but because the lifestyle it's easier there. You can live in a small place, you have fewer things to maintain, you can walk to a lot of places, you know, you find lots of transportation, there's lots of restaurants, easy medical care. Everything's just more simple there. It really truly is. You know, but I also know myself. You know, I'm not sure I would be happy living full time in just some little 1-bedroom condo with nothing to build, no hands on, and not as much privacy. I'll enjoy the beach for a long time and then start missing the farm. This is my honest answer. It may not be, you know, one place or the other. I'm just not sure at this point because I enjoy both. Okay, so maybe the best answer is both. For Tia and I, the best retirement may be to keep Isaan as our home base and spend part of the year near the beach. The farm gives us family, land, space, and purpose. The beach gives us convenience, exercise, restaurants, medical access, and a change of scenery. One place doesn't have to provide everything for you, not in Thailand, because Thailand's not that big. It's smaller than the state of Texas. You know, it doesn't mean we have to own 2 homes. We could rent something near the beach for 1 or 2 months at a time and stay there and then, you know, come back to the farm. And that may be smarter than tying up money in another property before we know how often we would really use it. And you may want to consider the same. People sometimes say renting is throwing money away. I don't agree with that, you know, when you're testing a lifestyle. Paying rent for a few months can keep you from spending $1 million or more on a place you may later regret buying that's going to be very difficult to sell here. So, you know, the goal is not to collect the most property because that's not the goal at all. The goal is to build the best life, give you a good quality of life and, you know, enjoy it. You know, don't just be a property collector or collecting stuff again. Give yourself good purpose. Okay, here's what I'd do if I were starting over. If I were coming to Thailand today with no home, no land, and no connection to a particular province, I'd definitely rent first. Always rent. I'd probably start in a developed area where I'd access to healthcare, transportation, restaurants, and enough activity to keep me from feeling isolated. You know, I'd stay long enough for the vacation feeling to wear off, and that can, depending on the person, you know, that could be a month possibly or more. You know, then I'd spend some real time in rural Thailand before deciding village life was my dream. Travel into the north, go into Isaan, get over by the Laos border. I don't mean visiting the family for 3 or 4 days while everyone cooks food and makes you feel welcome. I mean actually go there and rent and live for a few months and see what you think of the area. You know, go through the heat and then go through the rainy season. Find out how far you are from hospitals, grocery stores, airports, and all the other things that you may run into you need. See whether you can handle the quiet, you know. You don't know, it may be too quiet for you. See whether you can communicate without your wife or girlfriend standing beside you. That's a real test to go through. See whether you still enjoy the lifestyle when it's not new to you anymore, you know. Excuse me, I've had a lot of allergies here. Do not choose your retirement location based on the best day you had on vacation. Choose it based on ordinary life you can realistically live every day and see what you think from that point. Give it some time. Give it some time and see how it really feels to you. Okay, so here's my answer for today. It could change tomorrow. If you ask me where I'd retire in Thailand at 67 years old, my answer is this. I would keep Isaan as a home base for T and I because it gives us family, land, purpose, and a place that we truly love and it belongs to us. But I'd also like to spend part of the year near the beach or in another area with easier access to hospitals, transportation, restaurants, and activities. I don't think one place has to give us everything. I really don't. The mistake is not choosing Hua Hin instead of Isaan or Isaan instead of Hua Hin. The mistake is choosing a place because it looked good to you in a YouTube video without thinking about what your everyday, ordinary life is actually going to be like once you get there. So the best place, in my opinion, to retire in Thailand is not automatically the cheapest place, the prettiest beach, or the city with the most foreigners. It's the place that fits your health, your finances, your marriage or girlfriend, your need for purpose, and the person that you really truly are inside. And only you know that, and give yourself time to see who that person is, because Thailand's a different animal, and you may see different things appeal to you here you never thought you'd like before. Okay, I'm going to close this out and summarize. Let me know in the comments which life sounds better to you, the beach or Isaan. Would you rather live in a smaller place near the beach with all the convenience and restaurants and things to do? Or would you rather have a home in rural Thailand with land, family, privacy, and room to breathe? And again, if you're seriously planning a move to Thailand, take a look at the Thailand Reality Guide and the Cost of Living Calculator at ricksadventurestv.com. They're there to help you look past the dream and work through the real decisions before you make the move. This is Rick with Rick's Adventures TV. Be safe, be happy, be healthy, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care, everybody.